Here we are. We're going to start with fireplaces here. We're going to talk about measuring a fireplace here with the 2D, 3D, and the Raptor software. Right? A couple things we got to look out for when doing these fireplaces. Especially, I'm gonna focus more on not just the face surround of a fireplace per se, but we're gonna get more into mitered edges and mitered returns here, and what we're gonna do, how we're gonna capture those, how we're gonna square things up, plumb edges up in space and whatnot, to make sure that when we install these miters and these side pieces, the returns in relation to the face, that those miters are gonna line up and everything. So you see here, I got a couple different lasers with me. You know, I got one, our standard Lino L2, which gives us our level and plumb, as you see in red right here. And then I have another Leica laser over here, which is actually putting out 3 laser lines that we're going to use, and I'm going to talk about for these returns. Not necessarily mandatory for doing this, but we just started playing with these, and they're definitely helpful in establishing these planes on these smaller returns. Is really where it's going to help you out a bunch. Okay, so what we're going to start out with here is we're going to start out with obviously setting a plane. Right, when it comes to setting a plane, the easiest way for me to explain what is the plane. The plane is always the surface that we are gluing or attaching the piece of stone to, and or setting it on top of. That's what the plane represents. So whenever we're dealing with vertical surfaces, we can literally shoot right onto the face of this surface, because that's what we're going to glue this piece of stone to in this situation here. Okay, so I can shoot a lower left, lower right, upper middle is what we're going to do to establish our plane here. So I'm going to aim up down here, lower left, lower right, top, middle. Again, all 3 points are on the surface. We're going to glue this one piece of stone onto. Okay. Now, since I'm set up in the center right here, I have some targets taped to the outside edge. I got 2 targets taped up on the left side here, 2 targets taped up on the right side here. This is obviously one option we have when setting up to shoot this fireplace. Okay. You'll also notice I have my laser pretty low. One of the reasons why I have my laser pretty low is so I can shoot right into all the edges of my firebox here. So I'm at a good height in relation to this to not get much stretch. No targets necessary, and I can shoot right in the firebox here. So these are things I'm considering when setting up the height of my machine here. Now, as I said, I got targets on each side. So what we could do is set up in the middle. If I can reach, obviously, if it's a fireplace that's not too tall, I can stick some targets up here on the sides. Now, obviously, if we're dealing with something that's going up 2 stories, what we're going to do in that situation is use reposition. So we could set up our laser out here on the side, shoot the whole left side of this, left side, right side firebox, these kinds of things. Then we could reposition our laser to the other side and then shoot and even scribe up the outside edges of this without any targets. So in this situation, it's a smaller fireplace, so I just got some targets taped up to the side here to shoot. Okay, so I'm in cabinet line right now, and I'm going to go ahead and just get into autofill it, and I'm going to shoot 2 points on my 2 targets on the left here. So I have a target again taped up to the lower left, a target taped up here, upper right. Then I'm going to come across what would be the top edge, the mantle, whatever you have that you're going to kill your stone at. Up there, maybe the ceiling. Then I'm going to come down and shoot my 2 points on the right here. And then we would shoot our 2 points on the floor. Obviously here, you can probably see I'm on carpet. Definitely don't recommend measuring lasers to carpet. Here, I'm just going to fill that back together. So we got the perimeter there now. Now I'm going to stay in cabinet color, back to measure. I'm still in autofill it. Now I'm going to shoot my 2 points onto the inside edge of the firebox, right? So when we're talking about the plane here, we establish the plane at the surface of the fireplace. So now on the outside edges, I have targets projecting my points out, giving me targets to shoot. So when we shoot out on these targets, it's moving those points back through space to the plane. And now when I shoot inside the firebox, it's going to pull those points out to the plane since we're behind it, right? So that's how we're flattening this thing out as we create it. It's why we can shoot in the firebox and then have targets project the edges out into space to shoot as well. So here, I'm going to shoot my points to create the firebox here now. Again, I'm an auto fillet. I'm staying very close to the front edge of that return, because we know if this made out of brick, some of that stuff is not going to be square, right? So the closer we get to the outside corner, the better, especially if that's returning in at an angle. So there we go. I'm just going to come into fillet, sharp fillet, and fillet that corner together. We have the face of our fireplace captured here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Lino here, and I'm going to generate level and plumb onto our template right here. So we can plumb up our edges for these miters to create the actual cuts we need here to make these miters line up. What we're going to do here, the reason why we're using this laser and projecting level and plumb onto here is to see how level and plumb this edge is in space. And also we're going to figure out what this edge, how plumb it is in space. Also, we can tell the firebox as well. So that's the power of the Lino here that we're going to do. So I'm going to set this up right out here in front of me on the wall. And now I'm actually going to go into a reference color. And so what I'm doing is I'm aiming my laser, and I'm going to take 2 points across the level line here. And then I'm going to take 2 points on the plumb line here. Okay? So I'm in capture, line mode. I can even be in auto fillet here. And I'm going to put my dot. I like to walk the bottom of my dot to the top of my laser line. And so I'm going to shoot my left point here. I'm going to come over here and shoot my right. Now I'm going to shoot 2. So that was my level. Now I'm going to shoot 2 on the plumb. And now that gives me what should be a perfect 90-degree angle if I was perfect at shooting this. Now, this laser is very high quality, very high accuracy. So that laser right there is producing 90 on that wall. Now, my ability to replicate that is that we're going to see how good I did here. So we're going to go to distance, and we're going to click angles. And right there, you see it's actually displaying all kinds of angles on our drawing. We know that none of this is 90, right? So one thing we can see here is I did pretty good. We got 90.05 right there. So the tolerance we're really looking for here is to be within 0.15 degrees of 90. So that means that number I'm looking for is 89.85 to 90.15. Okay, so that's 0.15 degrees plus or minus from 90 is us checking our accuracy here. Now, that plus or minus 0.15 degrees, if we're on the outside edges of that, that's perfectly fine for, say, full height backsplash. Some smaller runs, we're only dealing with 18 to 30-inch tall backsplash pieces. When you're dealing with a fireplace that's 2 stories tall, we're going to want to make sure we're really tight to that 90 degrees, because based off of how accurate that is how many feet and how much variation you could have. Okay, so the taller the piece in a vertical situation, really the more accurate you want to be on creating this 90 degree here. Okay, so once we check ourselves and we're happy with that, what we can do now is start editing and figuring out what is the big, is this thing mounted like this, like that? How is this thing shaped in relation to plumb in space? So we're going to hit the rotate button here in the bottom right corner, and I'm actually going to rotate to my plumb line. That's the line I just clicked on there, the plumb line that we created. I'm rotated to that in space now. So anything we create on this drawing, any line that we draw is going to be plumb in space. So what I'm going to do here is go to draw a line. We're going to go to a 1-point angle. So now the angle we're drawing this line is in relation to the line we rotated to. So since we rotated to plumb, whatever angle we draw this line at, whether straight up, straight down, left or right horizontally, it's going to be plumb in space here. So I'm going to switch to my miter color. And I'm actually going to just click in the little screen here on the right and spin that line around till it's going straight up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the bottom left corner. Actually, I'm going to increase the length of that. We're going to put it up to like 100 inches. I'm going to tap on that bottom left corner, and there we can see how out of plumb that edge is there. Okay. Now we can see that we're going into the piece there. The face of this fireplace is tilted up and to the left, basically, in space. So right there, I'm not going off the big side. It's going to be pretty hard to shim our stone to that when it's in the actual fireplace, right? So what we're going to do here is I'm going to undo that. And now I know the bottom left corner doesn't work, but I don't know, maybe the bottom right corner is the right corner. So I'm going to tap on the bottom right corner there. And now you can see up at the top there, we are on the big side. So we're on the outside. So what does that mean? When we go in here to fillet, a sharp fillet, and connect that corner, we can then come in here to distance and hit points. And I can click the point of the actual physical fireplace I measured, and then I can click that point on my new edge that's plumb in space. And what that just told me is that top edge of this fireplace is an 1/8 inch out of plumb. So that is what we would be shimming when we install that return here. We're going to have to shim this piece an 1/8 inch at the top there to get it plumb, right? And we always are going to install these returns plumb in space. So that is telling us now, and telling our installers even, how much they're going to have to shim the top there to get this plumb in space. And then we're obviously going to want to cut that on the face so we match that plumb in space when we go to put these layers together, right? So it's telling us right there an 1/8 inch. Now I can come over here, go back to draw my line, 1 point, and now we're going to go straight down the screen off the top left corner. And now I can come in here and look at that, fillet that together, and then do a distance on points, point to point. We see it's almost a 1/2 inch out on the bottom over there. Pretty far out, right? Now, we can verify these and check to see how accurate we were when we created these variations. So what we're going to do is I can take my Lino now, and I can actually come here and line my Lino up with that edge in space. Okay, so it's clipping the top of my fireplace right there, and I have a gap down here, which is that 7/16 gap. So we can actually take our tape measure now, and we can come over here and stick our tape measure up against the bottom edge right there, and see if our plumbness and how we squared this up is accurate right there. So we can verify it now by using the link. Okay, so this is what we're going to do to plumb up all these edges here. Now, we know we're going to take that. We're typically going to do, if we're doing 1.25" 3-strand material here, we're going to add that 1.25" for the offset for our miter. And then typically we're going to add some glue to that as well. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to go offset. Element or edge doesn't matter in this situation. We'll do the 1 3/8. And now I'm going to remove the original, and I'm going to uncheck revise style as well. So now I just have my edges out there that are the actual cuts we're going to make. Okay. Now I could change my walls up top. I could change the top and bottom of the wall. It would be like a rough cut. And then I can come in and fillet this together.
Okay, so that's
and now we have our template summary pop up right there, giving us our square footage. Now for the box, if we were going to do anything with this firebox and do miter returns on it, what we're going to do is we're going to come in here to draw. We're going to go to line. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Really sorry about that if you couldn't hear me. So we're going to talk about squaring up and plumbing and leveling this firebox right here. So I'm going to actually change the length of my line only to about 25. Now you see it's drawn down right now. I don't know how out of square this thing is or how to level and plumb. So I'm going to start at the top left corner. So I'm going to change my color to miter as well. So I'm going to start with the top left corner. We can see that's outside. In the firebox situation, we want to be inside those edges. So that's what we're going to shim in to plumb these up in space. So I know that's the wrong side, so I'm going to hit undo. And now I'm going to come off of that edge. The right side, you see we're inside that. That's what we're going to have to shim in order to install it. Now I'm just going to spin the window. Now my line's going straight to the right. Let's check the top. That's the wrong edge there because we're above. We can't shim it. So we undo that. Now I come off the bottom left corner and hey, that's the edge we need to come off of there. And I'll spin this line around. And I know I need to come off the bottom here because the top didn't work. Right? So there we are with that edge. And now I know I need to come off the top right of that. So now you see those miter lines. All those miter lines are exactly level and plumb in space, no matter what the firebox is doing. So when we plumb up and level these pieces we install, our cuts on the face are going to match the return. Okay, so now we're just going to come in and fillet this together. Now there's some other things we can do here with dimensions. We added some new really awesome ways to make dimensions here using parallel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fillet all this together. Those corners are already filleted. So now I can come in here at distance and I can hit parallel and I can click the new miter line and I can click the, no, actually I'm going to go to label here. And then I'm going to go to parallel. Pick the bottom edge first and then the top edge. And it gives me my outage right there. And I'm going to tap on it. Now that is on my template. Now I'm going to pick the left side and the right and tap right on that. Now we know the outages for the horizontal and the vertical on that. I can come down here as well, show the outages there, and then show the outages here. Right? How much we got to shim? What are we going to be shimming there? What are we doing in that situation? Now we can come in and do our offset of our inch and 3/8 material. Remove the original, don't change the color. And then we can come in and fillet that together. So that's the actual cut for the firebox. If we're going to miter return that, all those edges are level and plumb in space. Right?
We're going to keep it.
All right, folks. So that's pretty much talking about the face right here. Do you guys let's check the chat now. Okay, so if you have any questions at this point in time, you could pop into the chat there. So on the bottom right corner there, you should see a little text message window. If you want to pop in there and ask any questions, or if you want to raise your hand and then start typing so I know somebody wants to ask a question. You guys can ask any questions you want about what we went in. Thank you, Anthony. About what we went over so far. Sorry, try to slow down a little.
Doesn't matter.
If we're doing good, then I'll kind of move on, like we were just. Sometimes hard to hear. Okay. Yeah. Give me a second. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't look and my microphone was on the camera up there, not right here. This is yeah, I'm really sorry, guys. Really sorry. It's my first time using Google Meet, so you gotta cut me a little slack there. Really sorry though, guys. All right, cool. All right, so now we'll kind of talk about these miters and this return, right? So this is where this new laser we started playing with here is pretty cool. Okay, so what we can do with this thing, we could still use the Lino L2 to do this with, but this multi-axis laser, I guess you could say, is definitely going to have some advantages here. So one of the advantages here that we can do is we can actually create a plane in space that's perfectly square to the front edge of this fireplace. Okay, because we got multiple lasers shooting out, right? So what we can do here with this laser here is I can align it so that this laser, I got one laser running across the face of it, and you can kind of see it being bent right there. And what I can do is dial this laser in to where it's actually square to the face of my fireplace. Okay. And so what I'm doing is setting this thing up so it's pretty much dead square to this fireplace in space. So I have a line, a laser line that's square to the front and the face. And now I have this green laser line on the floor and coming up the wall right here, even up on the ceiling, all over in this room. That is a representation of this plane in space. So I kind of want to get it pretty close there to the edge. Because again, if you heard me before, you have heard me say, I do not like to move points through space more than 6 inches away from my plane. I don't want to shoot points more than 6 inches away from my plane. So I'm not going to create my plane more than 6 inches away from the surface that I'm trying to capture here. Okay. So I'm going to line up a front laser, square it up to the front edge. And now I have this laser here, which is my plane representing this miter return. So we can take the laser now, and I can set up out here. And now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a new page, a capture page, right? So now with this laser level on the floor, as you can see this green line on the floor right here, I'm going to shoot a lower left point right on that laser line close to the wall on the floor. I'm going to shoot another one out here, which would be my right point. So left, right, and then I'm going to shoot one up on the laser line here, which is my top point to establish my plane. So even though, which you guys may have found when you get out there in the field and you're trying to set a plane on something this tall that's only 5 inches wide, typically you could shoot lower left by the wall, right out in the front, kind of in the middle, and then top back towards the wall. The laser's going to tell you did a bad job because those points have less spread than we're looking for, right? So in the plane, we're looking for at least 12 inches of separation. And then we're looking for a certain degree of triangle, of depth of that triangle for the laser to say you did a good job setting the plane, right? So by using this laser on the floor, squaring us up to the face, and then which in turn is going to create us a good square edge here because we are going to install these miters square, right? So we can use this as our plane now. Okay, so I'm going to shoot lower left right onto the green laser line there. Lower right, right onto the green laser line over there. And then I'm going to come up here and shoot a point up on the wall, right on that green laser line there. Now I've established that plane. Okay, now from this point here, I'm going to get into cabinets, and or you could get into, actually, I'll get into wall. We'll go into continuous, and I'll shoot some points scribing that back wall up there, right? Maybe we want to cut the stone to match that wall. There's going to be no cove molding or nothing there. We're going to kill the stone right into our drywall right there. So I'm going to scribe up. And again, I'm shooting the back wall now because we're creating the plane in space as this edge. But when it comes to templating, measuring here, you know, we created our plane there, which is what our stone's going to be glued to. But then what are the boundary objects that create that shape in space, right? So the back wall here creates one edge we want to bump up against. So we're going to shoot all our points for the back wall on the wall itself, no more than a half inch away from that edge returning into it. Now I'm going to shoot right onto the bottom of the cap there. So here, since I'm in continuous, I'm going to hit start new line. I'm going to shoot 2 points across the cap there. And now I'm going to hit start new line again. And in this situation, you could scribe the face of this as well if you want to see what's going on there. Maybe the center of this is the part that's bowed out the farthest. If we do a scribe across the face, again, I'm aiming onto the face of this now to create the front edge of that miter return, right? It's the boundary object that we want our stone to stop at. And then we're going to add material thickness and glue to that, right? So here we go. Shoot some points down the front here. And you know, as I switch to the cabinet color, because we're going to edit this edge into a miter cut, right? And so here, kind of get some windows between my tripod I got set up there. I'm not getting no beeps. Then I'm just going to go to wall and shoot 2 points on my floor here. All right, now that we got that, I can get into my reference color and I could shoot my level and plumb. Again, we got to generate level and plumb here. Now, there's a couple options I have here with this style laser right here, okay? One option is this thing is projecting level and plumb onto my wall over here. Now, as you guys know, that's pretty far away from the plane that we have established right here. And that would definitely be breaking my rule of no more than 6 inches away am I going to take points, right? I would definitely break that rule. We're feet away. And we're going to shoot our points on that wall and pull them over here, okay? Now, with this laser here, there are intersections at this laser, with this laser, okay? I have on this plane, we have intersecting level lines, a vertical point that intersects on the ceiling, another intersection there, and another intersection here. So if we shoot the intersection there, and the intersection up there, I'm creating perfectly plumb on the plane that I created in space, and I'm not moving my measurements at all in space, okay? So as you see, what I'm talking about is there's an intersection right there at the laser. Then there's also an intersection on the wall over there, or whatever it's going to hit in the room. And then, like I say, directly straight up above this laser, there's an intersection there as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm in my reference color. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit right in that intersection right there. And then I'm going to come over and try to hit my intersection here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shoot the intersection on the floor and the intersection on the ceiling. I'll move the camera around and show you guys this, what I'm talking about. Okay, now we're going to come in. And I just used a massive area to create this with. And we're going to see how good we did. Man, not quite good enough, did I? Didn't quite nail it right there, right? So we're at 90.19. Again, I said that tolerance we're looking for is 90.15. Now, I can tell you that I'm aiming pretty far away. And one thing I found with this green laser, feels like it's burning a hole in my eye. So I'm gonna work on this one over here. And I know I'm gonna break my rule, but let's see what happens here. I'm gonna get into auto fillet. And I'm gonna shoot my 2 points for my horizontal, my level. And now I'm using the wall over there. And then I'm gonna come and shoot 2 for my that. Oh, and it filleted it the short way, which at the end doesn't really matter. Oh, but it's not giving me my angle there. It's not giving me an angle. Let's try that again. It did not like that. Let's just shoot it in 2 point. Again, you guys can ask questions at any point in time during this in that chat. There are other guys in the chat that can help you, that can answer questions for you and whatnot. But hey, there we go. 89.89. That's pretty good, right? So now what we can do is we can come in and fillet all our actual structure together, what we shot. Then we can rotate ourselves. All right, again, we're going to rotate to plumb in space. I'm going to come in and turn those angles off. Then I'm going to get into the miter color. And this is where I'm going to draw that line straight up. And we'll do this again at around 100 inches. I'm going to start at the bottom corner. Hey, there we are. You see, coming off the bottom edge there, that is what we're going to have to shim the top. So if we come in here and fillet this, distance, points, point to point, 1/16. Okay. So that's actually what the face is going to have to be shimmed 1.25 or 1/16 at the top of the face when we install the face, right? So this is showing us how we got to cut the front edge of the return to match how we install the face plumb, right? Okay. So, yeah, definitely. So that's how we're going to plumb up this edge. Now, again, we do material thickness, that kind of thing. So we could go in here, you know, do our offset of that orange edge out front. There we are. That's material thickness plus thin set. Then we fillet that together. Now, if you wanted to verify that, actually back to before the offset, you could go into label. You could do your parallel, click your miter, click your existing edge, tap that. Now we got that on the screen, and then we could even still do our offset here, fillet that together. And now one thing you could do, for me, it's a little tough here, but I'm done shooting that, so I'm just gonna move my laser right now. But again, we can verify this. It's telling me 1/16 at the top right there, right? So what can I do? I mean, my fireplace is up against the wall here. I'm gonna open this door here. And what I can do is get this laser lined up. So again, I am plumb to the face of this thing, hitting right on the corner here. I'll walk you guys over here and show you what I'm talking about. But this laser has this awesome little micro adjust knob on it too, that really allows me to dial the angle in on this thing. It's pretty awesome. And so by me squaring this laser up to the front, now I have that laser going across the face of this thing, perfectly square to it. So I can take my tape measure and I can stick it up here at the top and see that that laser is hitting my tape 1.16 out. That tells me that what I did right there matches the plumbness of the face of that fireplace in space right there, right? So this is a way we can verify our edits by using our lasers as well and projecting up there of where we actually, is that shimming, is my out of plumb, are those calculations correct? So now we just verified that shimming and all that that we're gonna do is gonna work in this situation here. All right, so that's talking about doing the miter returns, using this laser to set our plane. Now you could still do it with the lino. You're just gonna set the lino up first, square to the front to set that plane. Then you bring it over to the side here and project that out to get you level and plumb. That's how you'd have to use the lino L2. With this one, this new Leica, it's the L6G. And this one's projecting all 3 lasers out here. So I got plumb, I can create level and plumb and the plane and check the squareness of the face and what I create in my offset all in one laser setup when using something like this, right? So very powerful. Awesome lasers. All right, so do you guys have any questions about what we went over there? Yeah, I definitely it's the first time I started playing with green lasers. And I just noticed, man, when I stare at that thing too long, I start seeing 2 or 3 of them. It starts hurting my eyes. But they're super easy to see, obviously, right? So any questions about the miters, the returns, the shipment, anything like that, guys? Awesome. Great to hear. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. So you know what? We'll kind of, I'm going to hide the chat now. So now we'll go over full height backsplash now. Okay. So I'm just going to move the camera a little bit here, or you know what? Let me talk a little bit about these intersections and what I tried to do with that plane there. Okay. So you guys can see what I'm talking about. Now, let me close this door here so you get a better idea. I am going to move the camera around here. So most people don't get seasick, but if you might get seasick, I'm going to move the camera around here. So there you go. Right. I mean, it's really about your accuracy. You know what I mean? When you're purchasing these things, that's really what you're going to want to be paying attention to. Right. We're literally going to use this laser to install thousands of dollars of stone. Right. Many fireplaces we run across, we're going to use this one laser to calculate this level and plumb and everything in space. So you really just want to pay attention to what the tolerances are. Right. We buy equipment based off tolerances, based off its accuracy. Right. That's what we bought our laser for, right? So this thing, you know what I mean? We're going to want a highly accurate one. You just do your homework, check out the price points, and check out what the accuracy is. Usually the price directly affects the accuracy of that thing, right? The one I'm using right here, the Leica Lino, and this one here, it's 0.2 millimeters per meter. So it's extremely accurate, okay? Now, one of those things I was talking about with the intersections here is, and I got kind of a backdrop over here. So what I meant is you could shoot the intersection of the laser there, and then you could shoot the intersection. I have it on that whiteboard over here. You shoot the intersection there. That's how you get level. That intersection and that intersection would be perfectly level. Then this intersection down here on the floor and the intersection up there on the ceiling is perfectly plumb in space. So if you shoot these 2 intersections for plumb and those 2 intersections for level, you're using a very wide range to create that, and it's right on the plane. So you're not moving them in space at all, left or right. Okay. But as you've seen there, I always say, you know, spreading this stuff out as far as you can is the preferred method. But again, your eye's ability to aim the laser directly affects our accuracy here as well. That thing was pretty far away. The ceiling shot's pretty high, and that shot was pretty far away, and I really didn't do a good job aiming my laser at it. So I brought it a little closer to me. I was able to aim my laser better, and I got better results there, right? So distance and size that you do this at is all relative to your ability to aim the laser dot specifically on that line and capture those points, right? So just because I say 20 feet is the best, if you can't aim the laser 20 feet away and hit the laser, well, it ain't really going to work for you, right? So keep it as far apart as you can, as big as we can, but again, making sure our accuracy of aiming at this thing is what directly affects what we generate there on the screen. Okay, I just want to make that point. So that's one thing that's awesome about this three-way laser. You can check a lot of stuff with it. Okay. All right. So now, any questions about that stuff, guys? Just before we move on to backsplash, just to make sure I didn't create any more questions there. Okay. So I'm going to move the camera over here now, so you can see behind me here. You guys might have seen this world famous kitchen before. It's in a lot of our videos. Right? Okay. Now, I'm going to bring my laser over here. Now, when it comes to setup of this backsplash here and the height that I like to set my laser up at, the majority of objects we're going to aim this laser onto and shoot are above the deck and or the countertop that we possibly have installed here. I know, you know, I've trained a lot of people in my time here, and I always ask a lot of questions, and I can tell you that about 99% of the companies that I've trained on full height will install the countertop before they measure and create that backsplash. There's still 1% out there that do it all at once. They have some tricks to do that. If you guys want to talk about some of that stuff, I could bring it up at the end and talk about what some of these guys are doing to make that happen. Okay. I've heard some great ideas. Like I say, I ask a lot of questions so I can learn from you guys and pass that information along to everybody that thinks they can do it or wants to try it, right? So one thing with the height here, since we already got a countertop in place, typically what we're going to do to capture that bottom edge is use our pin blocks. Okay. Some of you may have the new pin blocks. In case you didn't know, these are our new pin blocks. Some of you might have the white pin blocks, but these are the new ones. These are what I'll be demonstrating here on today. And so what we're going to do here, you know, we got some known distances on these guys, right? So we still got that 1/2 inch arrow there saying, hey, off the bottom edge here, that line's a 1/2 inch up. This one's a 1/2 inch over. And this one up here is 2 inches up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set my laser. I'm going to fold my legs in right here. I'm going to drop one down to about the height I think I want it at, even though they're not spread out, about that high. And then I'm just going to drop my other ones to match it. Then I'm going to spread them. And really the idea here is that the hole right here is where my laser light is coming out at. I really just want this hole to be just higher than the countertop we have installed here, so I can just shoot to the back wall. Okay. Obviously, if we have our laser at this height, if we try to aim right onto that countertop, you know our laser is going to be stretched out like 6 inches. It's definitely not going to work. Not recommended, right? So I'm going to take 2 of these blocks here, right? And I know that line's a 1/2 inch off the bottom, right? So I'm going to set one up on the actual countertop. If I was running all the way over here, I'd set it on the countertop here with that line a 1/2 inch up. And then I'd set the other one down here on the countertop with that line a 1/2 inch up. Okay. Now I understand
not all stone is flat, right? Maybe you want to know if that countertop is dipped at all or anything like that. We do give you 6 of these blocks, and I have heard of people wanting to know what the countertop is doing. So you could put multiple blocks across there, shoot the 1/2 inch line on all of them, and see how flat our countertop actually got installed at, how flat that slab was that we cut it out of, right? Here I'm just going to demonstrate using 2 points, as if we assume this is level and flat, okay? So I like to get my laser at this height. Again, our laser's just above here, so I can shoot just right on the 1/2 inch line on the block down there, and I can shoot right on the 1/2 inch line on the block down here. I get 0 laser stretch because we're shooting directly onto that target back there. So we just took laser stretch out of the equation, and we'll just offset that line down that 1/2 inch to get us our actual edge in space, right? Now, we came up with a couple new targets here to help you guys out with full height backsplash. Whether or not you got a brand new laser or not, you may or may not have this target in there. And actually, this one's a little loose. Let me grab this one. It's what we call a crossliner target here. So you'll see this thing slides up and down on the L target. It's just an L target with the black channel material from the clamp target, right? We got a sticker on here. That center line, we got a center bold black line, and then those lines are 1/4 inch plus or minus up or down, right? So one thing we could do with this, in my situation here with these uppers, they have a cavity, right? We either are going to have cabinets that have a cavity, you know, it goes up 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch off the bottom here. And then there's also the cabinets without the cavity where it's totally flush across the bottom here, flat panel, right? Those are kind of the 2 different styles we're going to run across out there in the field. Okay, so when you got a long run, you may aim your laser down here and try to hit the bottom of the cabinet down there. The bottom of that upper is what we're going to want to shoot onto. And your laser stretched out like 3 inches because the run's 15 feet down there that you're trying to shoot this point on. That's where we can use this target right here, okay? On a cavity cabinet, what I can do here is I can actually line up, I can stick this thing into the cavity, and I can line that line up with the bottom edge. If I go in the back here, I line the white part up with the bottom edge of that cavity. Now I can put my laser dot right here and get 0 stretch because I'm going to take out my third hand, you know, my roll of blue painter's tape, right? So I do love to carry a roll of 1-inch blue painter's tape. We never shoot lasers onto this. We just use it for our third hand. We always shoot lasers on the sticky dots, not blue tape, okay? I just use blue tape to stick things up here. So what I'm going to do on that long run, it's going to be kind of hard to hold that target up there and shoot it with the laser, right? So that's why I say this is my third hand. We get the third hand out. I'm just real simple. Going to stick a piece of tape across there. Now I can stick this up onto the bottom of my upper, aiming that thing back at my laser. I'm going to put my laser dot on there just to show you. Now I can get 0. Hold on a second. Let me fix my cord. What should I do here? Yeah. So you'll see I got that guy taped up on the bottom, and I'm just aiming my laser onto that line. So I have that edge lined up with the cavity here. So that's in a cavity scenario. I could shoot right onto that target there, but down at this end, I could shoot directly onto the bottom of the upper. Okay. So that's in a cavity situation. That's one way we can use that. Now, if it's not a cavity situation and it's a flush panel on the bottom here, then I can use two of these, right? We give you two of them in the kit. And then what we're going to do there is we're going to take our tape measure and we're going to set that at a distance. No different than the technique we're using here with our pin block, shooting a 1/2 inch line and offsetting it down a 1/2 inch. We could take these targets and we could take our tape measure and I could set, say, that bottom gap at like a 1/2 inch right there. Right now we could tape that up to the flush panel at the bottom down here, tape it up down there, shoot both the lines, offset it up that 1/2 inch. Now we totally took care of our laser stretch. No laser stretch, direct shots, very accurate to get rid of that stretch there and using that target to do that with. Okay. So new awesome little target deal here for helping you guys out with the backsplash, not getting any stretch there. All right. Now, when it comes to setting the plane, again, I can't reiterate enough. When we're talking about vertical surfaces, what are we gluing the piece of stone to? We're going to glue it to this wall. So all 3 plane points need to be on that surface, on that wall, right? So when we go to set this plane, it's basically we can go lower left, right on the wall, lower right, right on the wall, upper middle, right on that wall, right? So you'll see the common theme here is all 3 points are on the surface or a representation of that surface in space here, right? That's what we're gluing it to. Now, what makes up the shape that we want to cut the stone out at, right? Well, our upper cabinets create the borders and create the edges, the perimeter of what we want our stone to run into. So that's what we're going to aim our laser directly onto to capture these points. So we're going to aim right onto the left side, 2 points to the left side of that cabinet, 2 points to the bottom of that upper, 2 points on the right side of that upper, 2 points on the bottom of this upper, okay, close to the wall. So that's where we set the plane on what we're gluing it to. That's that representation in space. And then we aim onto the objects creating the shape we want to cut the stone out at. That's what we shoot our points on, create these measurements, okay? So one of the things we got to look out for on these full height backsplash is inside corners. As you guys know, the laser, we're using light to measure distance. So at steep angles, we can get a lot of reflection here, right? So you'll see when I'm going to shoot these points here, obviously I have a ton of reflection off my cabinet right there on any of these shots, right? So we give you black shields in the, excuse me. Let me set you up over here. We give you black shields in your kit. And if you guys don't know, they are for absorbing reflection, right? That's what these guys are for. In full height backsplash, we have steep angles to everything. It's not like a countertop. We're a lot more direct on our shots with countertops. On backsplashes, we're typically at steep angles to like everything we ever want to shoot here. Okay. So what we're going to want to do is, again, I'm going to take my third hand, and with these black shields, I'm just going to do a real simple. I'm going to take this tape. I'm going to make a loop, right? And I'm going to stick that to the back of my shield. Now I got my third hand on my black shield. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to stick this guy up. Well, I got that shield. I got that target down there. I'm going to shoot right on that target. Here, I'm going to stick that one there. I'm going to stick some other ones. Like I say, we give you 4 of these in your kit. And so I'm going to make some loops of tape here. And I'm going to stick them right to the back here. I'm going to come around the side here. And I'm going to lay these out before I start shooting. We are going to have to move them because we only got 4 of them. But I can also use them for dual purpose. So if I strategically place this right in this corner, I can actually kill the reflection on both shots. Something you can play with. I'm sticking the tab up against the cabinet base here, which will allow me to use it for both shots in that corner. I'm gonna make another loop, sticky tape here. Again, using that one dual action. So I pretty much got that all set up. All right. Now, what I'm paying attention to with my laser is, right, we might have a window here. So we might want to shoot inside that window, right? Inside that drywall return possibly. And then if we're bringing the backsplash up and around over here. Got we got a couple options here, maybe even 3 options of what we can do in this scenario. Okay. I'll go over a couple of them with you on how we can capture this stuff, whether repositioning or not. Okay. Do you guys, just so I can see right now, would you guys like to see me reposition the laser on this backsplash? If yes, raise your hands. Just hit raise hand if you guys want to see me reposition here. Okay, wait, why can't you just use the green sticker and shoot it in that? Okay, good question, Jimmy. So green stickers are for absorption. They cannot always fix reflection. Okay, I just want to make that very clear. You can still be at steep angles and hit the green dot, and it can still grow your measurement and give you off distances. Okay, I mean, I as a trainer, I could tell you, man, I set up and shot this backsplash with nothing, right on it, getting all the reflection, getting all the absorption, all that. Shot it just the way it was, and I was about 1/8 inch, 3/16 off. I can tell you right now, if you just put green sticky dots on everything, you could be within 1/16 to 1/8 on almost every shot. If you use the black shields, I almost guarantee you're going to be on the money. Okay, so the green dot can help with reflection, but depending on distance and angle, it becomes ineffective at a certain point. Now, I can tell you what that point is, but then you're going to be looking for that point all the time. Like, when does it work? When doesn't it work? I typically don't like to measure things twice. So I'm just going to set up with these black shields like this, no green sticky dots, and shoot all this. And it's pretty much going to turn out right the first time I shoot this. Okay. That's the idea, at least anyways, right? Okay. So we did get, right on, Jimmy. All right. Oh yeah, and Vince there. Vince Strelo is one of our trainers there as well. He's in on this meeting, and he's saying there 2 blocks per slab, right? So if we got 1 countertop here, we got 1 countertop on each side of our stove opening here per se. He's suggesting setting up 2 blocks on that to shoot the levelness and where that countertop is at in space, and then set your 2 blocks up here and shoot that countertop to see where that is in relation to the other ones, right? Then you have that information on your sheet right there, on your template. Right, good tip there, Vince. Thank you. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna set up and start shooting here now. So I'm as close as I can get up against. I got my 2 legs of my tripod right up against the cabinet bases here. Okay. So now again, I'm gonna set my plane first, and again, we're shooting directly onto the wall over here, right onto it. Oh. I probably need to open a new page. That probably would help. Here we go. Here's a left point. Here's a right. And then here's the top. Again, all of these points are on the surface. We're gluing this too. Now I'm going to jump into cabinets, line. I'm even going to use auto fillet here because I love auto fillet. I'm going to start again on my crossliner target, that slider target I got set up down there, representing that edge. I'm going to shoot on that first. And then I'm going to come down here and shoot right onto the bottom of this upper here. There's our first edge. Now I'm going to come right around to the left side, shoot 2 points on the left side here. There's 1, there's 2. Again, I'm making sure my reflection is landing on that black shield. And that's what I was talking about. Like on some of these inside corners, you can kill two birds with one stone, as the saying would go. So I got the reflection being absorbed on my left shot. And then when I come up to shoot the bottom, I got that reflection absorbed also. Right. So that's one way to, like I say, kill two birds with one stone. All right. Now, just going to come across the upper, shoot my 2 points there. Down the side. Now I'm going to have to move some of these. I'm going to shoot my next two. And you see auto fillet. Man, I love auto fillet. It's beautiful. Putting that all together for us, right? Now, here can be our dilemma. How are we going to get around that corner? Right? A couple ways to skin this cat. Number one way, we'll be using what we call an extender target. Just a stick of plastic. All right. We could take our friend, Mr. Third Hand. As you see, I like to use tape to hold things in place for me. And I could stick this up to this cabinet edge right here. Now, there's a couple ways of going about this. One is capturing 2 points onto that target to capture that cabinet's edge, its angle in space. That's what's most important here. The extender target is projecting the edge of that cabinet out into space, and we can capture 2 points on that because we're capturing its angle, and then we're just going to project that up to where it meets the range hood at. Okay. Obviously, the farther we project that out, the better. Using things like your level. As you see on my level here, I have some sticky dots on it. You could come over here, stick your level up against that edge, and actually from this position here, I can do this without needing a third hand. And I can shoot 2 points on my level there. I captured that line's angle in space by projecting it out. Whether we use something like this or tape an extender target up there. Now, I'll come in and I'm going to hit autofill it again to start a new one. And I actually have some green sticky dots out here on my range hood. You can see my reflection right there, where I'm aiming at on this thing. And so now that's one way I can get around a blind edge like that. Okay. Now I can come up here, stick my black shields up here for these shots I'm going to take on my range hood. And then on these uppers, some of these shots start getting very direct depending on the angle and whatnot. So really the farther away from your laser you go, the less chance you have for reflection because you have more direct shots onto this. So I do still need them on this panel. But pretty much my pantry panel right there, I'm going to shoot like directly on it to it from here. So I virtually get no reflection there. Okay. So I'm going to start here, shoot 2 points on the bottom of my range hood there. And now I'm going to come to the right side cabinet of that upper. 2 points on that. Then we're going to come around to the bottom of that guy. 2 points across the bottom. Now 2 points on my pantry panel coming down. And then I'm going to shoot 2 points on the half-inch line on my pin block down there. And I'm going to come down here and shoot a point on the half-inch line, my pin block down there. Now I could go into wall color, and I could even go continuous, since I have a drywall corner down here that we maybe we're killing the stone into this, or we're butting the left wall into that. Typically, I believe you guys are going to install the long wall first. And so we could pull a half-inch out of that corner, and then on this left wall, we pull that 1.25 inches plus material, plus glue or whatever we're going to do. So the left piece butts into the face of this piece. So we really just need to know where that wall's at, and we could pull it in, you know, 3/4, half inch, even a 1/4 inch, all that would work because we're going to cover it with our left piece, right? So now we can come in here, fillet, sharp fillet this together. Now that I got that edge projected out to the bottom, I need to send it to the range hood first before I can fillet it properly. So I'm going to click on it and the range hood line, which sends it up there, gives me the portion I need. Now I'm going to click on the portion I just created and the lower upper, and now we actually get that edge, even though we didn't even shoot on it, right? So that is capturing just the backsplash aspect of this, okay? And you've seen how I use some tricks to get around reposition in this situation right here, right? So, okay, I see Vince is pretty active in here answering questions, so I didn't know if there's any questions we want to address at this point. Jimmy says, anyone ever experience if you set the plane too wide like that, you get some inaccuracies when you're double checking the length of the backsplash? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. So your length right there, Jimmy, the width, the overall width of this thing is going to be generated by this panels line actually in space and by your drywall that we're shooting down there. That is actually creating the two edges that create the distance across the bottom here. If that panel line is at a bad angle in space because of reflection or something, then if you kick that thing at a bad angle out at the bottom, you just grew your bottom edge, however bad the angle is that you captured that panel at. Now, we all know that when it comes to drywall corners, right, we teach you guys in a horizontal situation to shoot 3 inches out, right in the corner, 3 inches out the other side. As you guys may have zoomed in and looked at that, that is always a whack angle in relation to the rest of the wall, because that guy typically floated 1/8 inch to 3/16 in on that corner of mud, right? Now, when we're dealing with a vertical situation here, the farther you come out of that corner, the less mud you're capturing when you shoot that point, okay? So what I mean by that is when we go to shoot this drywall corner here and create these points, if I'm right close to the corner like that, I'm getting the mud buildup that taper floated into there. If you come 3 inches out like this and you scribe up that wall that far out, I guarantee your back wall, the overall wall dimension, to be off probably 1/8 inch to 3/16, because when you go to check it, you're going to stick your tape measure into the corner right there, not 3 inches off the edge. So your tape measure is not going to match your laser because you're not exactly shooting what you're checking at the same time, if that makes sense there to you, Jimmy. Or to everybody, actually. So that's what we're talking about. You know, how does this thing create our measurements, right? How does the magic happen? When you're talking, awesome. When we're talking about what creates a bad dimension, since you brought that up, Jimmy, let's talk about what creates a bad dimension here, right? As I was explaining earlier, capturing this line's angle in space is the most important part of this whole system, of this whole machine. Its ability to capture 2 points on that edge and create that edge's angle in space is how it generates these dimensions, okay? So what I mean by that is, if I pull my tape measure out and I measure across the bottom of this upper right here, and I see, hey, I got 11.5. We click distance, we click dimensions. Right there, we're at 11 and 11/16, right? I should probably check back here, right? Yeah, we're just over the half inch, just over 5/8 there, right? 11/16. So we can see that. Now, how did that number get generated? The left edge, the 17 and 11/16, That line's angle in space. And then the 12 and 11/16 over here, its angle in space projected out is what created the distance across the bottom. So if you ever run into a situation where you see a bad measurement, the line that's wrong has nothing to do with the bad dimension. It has everything to do with the two shots for the left and that line's angle in space, and the two shots on the right and that line's angle in space. That's what's causing a bad dimension across the bottom here. Okay. Yeah, sometimes with the crooked wavy walls that previously had old backsplash, it's hard to determine where to shoot the points because the wall isn't flat and straight. Right, exactly, Jimmy, right? So, I mean, this is where we can take that scribe, we can shoot those points to see what's going on there, right? Whether or not when you do the countertop, so when we do a horizontal plane and scribe that back wall, that's giving you your bird's eye view down to see what that wall's doing. And where the proudest parts are, you know that's the part that's going to affect your backsplash, right? So we can use the wall scribe of our countertop to kind of see how flat the wall is, right? So hopefully that gives you guys a clue on how to figure out and troubleshoot your bad dimensions. We should never be offsetting things on our drawing to match our tape measure. We should be able to shoot them within a 16th with our laser all day, every day. If you guys are struggling with that, of course, you could reach out to us anytime. Trainers, sales reps, like we're all available, man. Or you call into the main office, hit support. You'll get somebody that'll be able to figure out your dimensions as well if you're running into those issues. We can have a little meeting session like this, one-on-one, and talk about what your specific problems are. Okay. All right. So talk about some outlets, right? So we can mark our outlets. Typically what I'm doing is I'm going off the top screw. Okay. We're going to shoot across on the top screw as a reference point to snap a cutout onto, right? So generally speaking, whether we're dealing with a light switch, a GFI, standard outlet, empty box, pretty much all of them are going to have a top screw hole, unless it's literally an empty hole. Usually they're going to have a box there or something mounted in there. So I'm typically going to use the top screw as my reference point. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to capture. We're going to go to cross. And again, I got some fake outlets stuck to my wall here. I'm aiming at my top screw of that outlet. I'm going to shoot that point. I'm going to aim at the top screw of my outlet over here on the left. Shoot that point. Now I shot those references where those cutouts are going to land at, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my Lino now, and we're going to create level and plumb on this drawing as well, right? When it comes to any seams that we want to create, when it comes to dropping outlets in, we want to drop our outlets in level and plumb in space, right? If Mrs. Smith goes over there and sticks a level up against your cutout, up against the electrical plate that's there, it better look level and it better look plumb, right? That's what we're looking for here. In order for us to generate that, we need this laser. So again, what I'm going to do here, we're going to go color, reference, and again, I'm going to shoot my 2 points across for level. Nope. Rookie mistake. I'm going to get in line mode first. That probably will help. And then we're going to shoot our 2 points on level. 2 points on plumb. And we got that filleted together. We're going to tap distance, turn off dimensions, turn on angles. Hey, I'm just in the window there. All right, 89.86. Again, like I say, we can be a little looser on this in full height backsplash because we're not dealing with so much distance as we are in the fireplace world. Okay, so now what I can do is I can rotate myself to plumb in space. Now, We could create a drop in here if we wanted to, right? Let's do that real quick. I'm going to open a page, drawing page. I'm going to go draw. I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to make it an unfinished cutout. And the height of that, don't quote me on this. If you cut your outlets to this and tell me that it didn't work, then don't blame me. This is just for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to make this 2x4 cutout, pretty basic. Now, we just shot across at the screw. I want this thing to snap to that screw head that I shot. Now, I can take my tape measure out and I can figure out what this is. You know, again, don't quote me on this, but let's say it's 3/16 to the hole from the top of the cutout to the screw I shot as my reference. So what I'm going to do is go offset, element, 3/16 down. Oop. I'm going to keep the original on. There we go. Now that gives me a center snap point. So when we go into drop-ins here, I can hit set origin. If you're familiar with LT1, this is define 0, 0. And so now I offset that line down 3/16. Every line in CAD has 3 snap points on it, a beginning, a center, and an end. So that line automatically has a center snap point on it right there. I'm going to click the center of that. It just set the origin to that, but we can't see it right now, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to view, and I am going to click on, where is it? Origin. That little purple dot right there is now showing us XYZ 00 point, the origin in CAD space on this page, on this drawing. So now we see we got it set in the right spot. We're going to hit erase and erase that line. I don't need that line. I just needed the snap point. Now we're going to go to the drop-ins and we're going to hit save. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with this, my drop-ins is only local to this PC. Company drop-ins is for everybody in your company when they sync up to the cloud and upload their jobs, whatever, any changes you have made in the drop-in folder, in the company drop-in folder, will then be on their machine as well. So one guy can make this outlet cutout, add it to the company drop-ins. Now, everybody in the company, once they sync up to the cloud, will have access to this drop-in. Okay. So we're going to click on company. And we're going to name that AA outlet. We're going to hit save. Now I can come back here to my template. I have the outlet right up there. Now you could hit your little 3 dots right here and find your outlet in there, but I got it up already. All I'm got to do here is come in. I'm rotated to plumb in space, tap that cross, actually set the setback to 0. And let me think here. Yeah, that should. Oh, select the line to align it. I'm going to align it to plumb in space. And then, nope. I'm going to align it to level in space. And I'm going to click above, which is actually going to make it go below. That's why I couldn't execute that. Click the point, click the line you want it, level to in space. And then I'm actually going to click up, which is going to draw it down. Bam! Outlet snapped into place. Now, one thing we didn't do is offset our bottom edge down that 1/2 inch. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to go offset. I'm going to say element. We're going to do a 1/2 inch. We're going to remove the original, and we're not going to revise the style. So it doesn't matter what color I'm in. I click the line, I click below, bam. We get the same line, offset down. Now we're going to go fillet, sharp corner, fillet that together, and there we go. Now, one awesome thing about dropping your outlets in right here that we can do is we can come in here to extend, and I can click the right edge of that outlet and click the bottom of my upper. I could click the right edge of that and the bottom and the countertop. I could click the top or the bottom line of that in my panel. I could click the bottom edge of this one in the wall out there, side, top, side, bottom. Now I can come in here to distance, points, and I can click snap to snap, 5 and 13/16. Now I can come over here and I can pull tape from the bottom of that upper to exactly where my outlet's going to be cut out at. I got 5 and 3/16, right? 5 and 13/16. So that's how we can verify exactly where these outlets are going to be cut out while we're on site, while we're here creating it, right? Now I know 6 ways from Sunday, that outlet's going to be hitting in the right spot, as long as we don't adjust the bottom of the backsplash. If you offset the bottom at all, you just change where your outlet cutouts are. So any adjustments we make have to be done to the uppers here, uppers only, right? Bottom edge got to stay the bottom edge, right? Okay, now that pretty much takes care of that. I mean, obviously you guys would do your offsets. You know, I can't tell you how to get that thing in there. Everybody's got a different number on what they want to do for relief on this stuff. So, you know, you guys know how to get that thing in there. It's 1/8 inch, 3/16, a 16th on the bottoms, 1/8 inch on the side, whatever you guys do. I think you guys know how to edit that. We're pretty much just going to come in, and that's where I'd be picking a color like walls, or a rough cut, right? I typically use wall for rough cut. And then we can come in and do our offset, do our 16th, maybe on the sides, right? And we want to keep original and revise it. So maybe the sides we bring in a 16th, and maybe your bottoms you do an 1/8. Right? Maybe the panel an 1/8. And then down here on this wall, you might want to straighten that thing out with a 2-point line. And then we'll take that straight line and we'll offset that in. You know, like I was saying, if we're going to butt joint this, we could do that a 1/2 inch and it wouldn't matter, right? And then the bottom edge, we could just change that to wall for a rough cut. Then we can come in, fill it all our inside edges together. And that should, then we could come back in here, fix this back up. Okay, try that again. We're going to unextend some things to fix this. Philip didn't seem to want to work on drop-ins there. Okay, so we got our outlet cutouts right now. There's our template. Let's see, let's do a check here. It says I got some issues, which that is fine. There we go. Now we got no issues. Now we got a complete shape, no breaks. Even though we can see those little lines on those breaks right there, it doesn't matter because those are reference lines, cabinet edges, reference edges, so they cannot be calculated. They are not considered in, is this a shape or not? Those lines are irrelevant to that calculation, okay? And there we have it, folks. You guys have any questions about that? Can you use verify? Yeah, we could use parallel to verify as well, as Vince was bringing up there. If I hit distance and I hit parallel, and if I click that side of that and that side of that, gives me every number from Sunday, where we don't need to use extensions. Thank you, Vince. All right, I could click that edge, undo step, click that edge to that edge. Way easier to check on that. All right. Okay. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about what we did here with the full height backsplash? Again, any of you guys want to see me reposition this thing to the front of the stove opening? You want me to show you that? Vincent has raised his hand. He says yes. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's give it a try. See how I'm doing today. Right? So one thing I like to do when it comes to reposition is I like to shoot a right angle from both locations to verify how good I did. Right? We're going to see how good I'm able to do this. So I'm actually going to set up my shots on this left side again over here. Because again, this is the right angle I'm going to use to verify my reposition. I'm going to set these guys back up because I'm going to shoot them from location number 2. All right. So I'm going to stick these guys up here. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go capture, reposition. Now, I have some dots on my walls already here. Okay, guys? So here, these new, if you're not familiar, we came out with a new reposition sticker. Amazing. As we talked about before, the laser does not like to measure on dark surfaces. So you can see how dim the light gets on the black. And then when you hit that dot, like fully hit it, you see how bright the laser gets. So this makes it very easy. You're not exactly just using your sight to see where you're aimed at, but you're also using the brightness of the laser to see that you're right in that thing. Okay, so I have one here, which is kind of in front of position 1. I got one here in the middle of position A and position B. And then I got one here kind of out in front of the second position for my third shot. Okay, so I don't have them spread out too far. I got them right in front of me here. Again, you could pick any surfaces in the room that you want. Again, I can't stress enough. Yeah, they are awesome, right? Definitely. So we know, man, we know people struggled a lot with reposition in the beginning, and we thought, how can we tighten this up? How can we make this easier? And this sticker is what we came up with to make this your ability to shoot that same exact spot twice from 2 different positions. Yeah, like Vince is saying there, again, with the comfortability of you aiming this thing at that point, our ability to shoot that point twice is directly going to affect our accuracy of this. So it don't matter if it's 30 feet apart if you can't hit the dot over there, right? So it's all relative to the user in a way, but you can still do this accurately. You can still have success with this, even shrinking it, okay? Like say, well, hopefully I'm going to prove it to you right here. So what we're going to do here, I got point number 1. I'm looking pretty good at my aim. I'm going to shoot point 1 there. Come over to number 2. I'm going to shoot number 2. And then I'm going to come on down here to number 3. I'm going to shoot that guy. Bam. Step 1 complete. Give us a little green checkbox there. Now it says we can move the laser. Cross your fingers, hold your breath. Move our laser over here. And now I'm going to shoot point number 1 again. And there we get a number 1 on our screen again there. I'm going to come to number 2. I'm going to come to number 3. Boom. Says I did a great job. But let's actually see what happened there. So we're gonna go to color. I like to change my color. Let's go with purple. Purple's cool. And we're gonna go capture. We're gonna be an auto fillet. And like I say, I like to capture a right angle from both positions. So what I'm gonna do now, my tape is at my third hand. I broke my hand over here. Hold on. Let me stick that back up there. Now we come down here. I'm gonna shoot to the bottom of that upper down there. I'm gonna shoot to the bottom of the upper here, which I already shot. And then I'm gonna come up the side and shoot 2 points on the side here. Okay, folks, here we go. We're zooming into that. We're looking to see how we did. Points, corner to corner. Hey, I'm doing all right today. So you can see right there, our tolerance less than a 16th. We're 0.04, right? So thank you. Thank you. You guys know how that is, man. You know, I'm kind of holding my breath here. You know, the camera's on, I'm being recorded and all that good stuff. So thank God I executed that, right? So here we could see we're looking to be within a 16th, right? And we can see right there by shooting that right angle, we're taking, again, these, right? These two lines, angles in space by shooting those 4 points, creating that corner. And that's what we're checking here, right? So I believe this is a really accurate way to check to make sure you ended up in the right spot there and that this is going to be accurate. Okay. Now we could continue on and template what we wanted to template over here, right? But I also showed you that extension trick as well, right? So I went over here on this upper that I moved to capture this guy, right? I did the extension deal. Now, what dimensions are going to be wrong by doing this extension thing? I can tell you that this edge here could be off, or this edge here could be off. Remember, it's the adjacent lines. This line right here is its angle in space is creating this dimension across here and the dimension across the bottom here when we capture this line. So if we got a bad angle on that line by extending it out, that's where we'll see a bad number. Okay. Now with this situation, if we repositioned and I captured the rest of this from location number 2, right? What can go wrong there? We're within a 16th on our reposition, but what dimensions are actually going to be affected by this reposition, right? We're going to capture this edge here from position number 2, and we're going to connect, and we're possibly going to shoot that panel's edge from position number 2 and these things as well, right? So what dimensions can actually be affected by our reposition? Well, since we're shooting this line from position 2 and this line from position 1, these intersections here is where we can see this variance of dimension. So since we're shooting this line from position 1 and this from 2, we could see a variance in that number, a variance in this number, or a variance in this number, or this one. Okay, actually not this one. These 3 is where we could see that 16th in the accuracy of our reposition kind of show up on our tape measure here when we're checking this. Okay, but the edge, this edge here, that edge there, that's all shot from this spot. There's no way those dimensions are going to be affected by our reposition because we're creating those edges and entities from the second location. So there's no way they're going to be off based off of our reposition there. Okay, so there's only a couple intersections here. We shot the countertop from position 1, and then we shot that right panel from position 2. So again, the panel intersection to the countertop, that's where we could have a different height, a different width. There's where we're going to see the accuracy of this reposition affect our dimensions in relation to our tape measure. Okay. I hope that all makes sense to you guys. Do you guys have any questions about that? Okay, it's all about the sticker, man, and it's all about your ability to aim and shoot that point twice from 2 different spots, right? That's what it's all about. I need to get a little drink here. Okay. If there's no more questions, we are getting, what time is it? It's 2:43. I'm saying we're going to talk about tub decks here as well. Yeah, same principles as showers. Like when it comes to this vertical work, you know what I mean? When it comes to setting that plane, you know, just for an example here, I can show you, since Anthony brought up the shower walls, right? We got a little shower deal here. So, you know, you're setting the plane. All 3 points are on this wall. And then we're aiming onto the boundary objects that create the wall. Onto the ceiling. We're shooting right onto the ceiling, right onto the back wall, right onto the floor, right onto the outside edge, or we have targets projecting this edge out into space to give us something to shoot on if we want to set up inside here, right? Then we could move the laser. Once you shoot that wall, check it all, get level and plumb on it, because we know we're going to install the back wall plumb, right? So you better cut this edge on this wall plumb in space, or else that really ain't going to line up with the back wall you installed, right? If you've ever had that issue, that could be what happened right there. Now, once we establish this wall, create level and plumb, and shoot it, check our measurements, make sure we're good, we can move the laser anywhere we want to then set a plane on this wall, shoot the ceiling, shoot the left wall, shoot the bathtub base possibly, shoot the floor, run plumb up off of that, whatever you might want to do there, okay? But we could move the laser wherever we want for each page. Don't be afraid to also move the height of it. If we got these little niches with the soap dispenser and that kind of thing, shelving and whatnot, I prefer to set my laser up kind of in the middle of that box like I did on the firebox over there. So I got good angles at shooting all that, and I don't need any targets. I can just shoot right in on it, right? So that's how that goes. Okay. Yeah, and Anthony's another one of our trainers, very experienced templater. And he's saying he uses the 360 laser to get a common line on all walls, to get seams at the same height, right? So you could shoot that laser like I got my laser. I mean, the thing's over there in the room, but it's hitting all the way over here, right? So that's what he's talking about, where we got that green laser line on both walls. So if you leave that up there the whole time, you can shoot that on each one of these walls, and then you can align them in 2D space on the same page based off of that level line, right? Great tip there, Anthony. All right, so if we don't have any other questions on full height, we'll move into like arcs, tub deck kind of deal here. Okay, that would be the next topic we're going to go over. All right, so I have a tub over here. So what we want to talk about here is basically arcs. So as you see, we got a tub that is all arcs. The whole thing is arcs all put together. One thing you'll notice here, I got my green sticky dots on our tub here. And you'll notice these pencil marks. I have little pencil marks here. On centers don't really matter as much. It's all about tangents. You guys aren't familiar with what a tangent is. It's where this radius in that corner turns into this larger radius going across the back. And then we obviously have a tangent there where the large radius turns into the small, then another tangent where that small turns into the large back. So you see here, I got green sticky dots at my tangents, and I have pen marks where I believe each tangent to be, okay? So that's my general layout. That's one thing I'm going to do. Now, it's hard to see these things. That's why we're putting the tape on there. Sometimes you can feel it, and you can literally feel where the transition happens. That's where you stick your dot and make your mark. It's a reference point. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? So the laser is going to tell us if it's perfect or not. So now I'm going to go up here and I'll show you me setting up and shooting this thing. So with my laser here, I'm actually not going to have any legs out at all. And put the legs all the way in. And we're going to set right in the tub. Right in. Okay. So now I got my plane block. And the plane, it's all relative to how you're standing here. Okay. When I'm standing here outside the tub, left is my left, right is my right, back is my back. I don't care where my laser's at. Okay. Similar to if you were down here. If you were standing here for whatever reason, that's your left, that's your right, that's your back. Okay. So it's always relative to how I'm standing and viewing this is what my left, my right, and my back is. Okay. Now, like I said, I got a plane block over here on the left, plane block on the right, plane block on the back. Then I have some T-targets set up out here for the perimeter of this guy. Now, I'm going to go new page, add a capture. So again, I'm going to come over here to my left block. I'm shooting the top horizontal line on those new pin blocks. My left, my right, and my back. Bingo. Now, we can stay in unfinished cutout. Sure. Arc. I'm going to go into arc mode now. And now at the bottom of our screen here, you see where it says capture arc and it has continuous arcs. We can turn that on or we can turn that off. All right. I'm going to do my best to measure this in one continuous arc all the way around here. Okay. So that's why I have these tangents marked out. When it comes to scribing something like this, if you don't hit the tangent, it don't matter how often. If you shot your point every 2 inches going all the way around this thing, you could miss every tangent and have bad information. Okay. So in this, I'm going to try to actually keep it as simple as possible. I'm going to shoot the least amount of points as possible to create this shape as pretty as I can get it. And I'm going to use the software to see if I hit the tangent. So I'm going to start at this tangent point back here. I'm going to start right on my little pen mark right there. And now we got to worry about draft. You know, the height that you're aiming your laser at, you want to keep it consistent going around this thing, because obviously there's more draft where the person lays in the tub than where your feet are at, right? So we definitely got to pay attention to height on this, especially where there's a lot of draft, right? So I'm going to start on my pen mark here, right on the tangent, shoot point 1. Then I come to the middle of that arc. It does not have to be perfectly in the middle. Then I come to my next tangent, or my next point I believe to be a tangent, and shoot a point right on there. Now I'm going to come to around the middle of the big arc on the back. And then I'm going to come to my next pen mark that I believe is my next tangent here. We're going to shoot that. Now that I've created those 2 arcs, I've created that intersection right there. We're going to see how good I did. Did I actually mark the tangent there? Let's see. That's a pretty smooth transition right there. If anything, it bows in a little. That's pretty dang smooth right there, right? Now, I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Now, I just nailed that tangent. I'm going to check that tangent when I create the next arc. So I'm going to shoot the middle of this little one here, and then I'm going to shoot the next pen mark I got, marking my tangent. And now I zoom in, and see how good I did there. There, you see that. That does not look that good, right? I bubbled that thing out. So I bubbled out. Typically, that means I tried to shoot my tangent before the arc actually started. So I created that little arc larger than it should have been because I didn't hit the tangent right there. So undo is one of my favorite buttons. I'm going to undo number 5. No, that would be number 7. Undo number 6 and undo number 5. Now I'm going to come to that 5th point, the beginning point that I believe to be that tangent. And I'm actually going to come about 1/8 inch to the right of my pen mark there. Again, I got those pen marks there as references. Now I shoot that point, and then the middle should be 6, and then number 7. And again, I'm going to see if I did better or worse. Hey, that looks pretty dang good. That looks pretty smooth, right? Now I can come to the center of the next one. And then my next, what I believe to be the tangent. And now again, I'm checking this previous intersection there. That looks pretty good as well. It looks a little bubble. So I can undo that. And again, I can come in a little short on that and reshoot that point. Reshoot that tangent, that intersection. Oh, that looks better, right? So you see, I'm adjusting this as I shoot it to make sure I hit those tangents and create a symmetrical, smooth looking cutout, right? So then I come to the middle of the next one, next tangent there, zoom in. Oh, wow. That's kind of the opposite end. We get that little, what Dan Lewis used to call a football corner right there, right? We don't want that. I missed that tangent. So I undo that. I'm going to come to the right of that about 1/8 inch. That pen mark I had for that tangent and reshoot it and go. Oh man, that looks pretty smooth right there. Right? Now we can come down here and I'll even show you some cheating, what I call cheating. Shoot the next midpoint, next tangent down here. And again, now I'm looking at that intersection. You can see that it's got that sharp point. I'm going to leave that one like that so I can show you what I talk about when I'm talking about cheating. Now I'll come to the center of the next one. Then my next tangent point. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. And we can look at that intersection. Man, that looks pretty. All right. Come to the next center. And then come to our stop start point. And then we're going to check that intersection too. Man, that looks good. Right? So there is that cutout. Now I could jump into say cabinet color, line, auto fillet. And we can shoot our 2 points around the outside here. Then we can jump up into wall color, continuous, and then we can scribe our drywall here as close as you want. I mean, most people are probably going to put a 24-inch something piece of stone up there so they don't get the wall wet, right? But that's just a rectangle. Scribe our wall here and fillet that together. Rotate to that front edge. Now, we got a break over here, right? Maybe that can fill it together. Maybe it can't. Let's see. Hey, it did. And fillet it. And that looks pretty dang good too. Now, remember I said this corner, that's a little sharp, right? I said, hey, we can cheat. Did I nail the tangent? No. Am I that far off? Not really. So what I can do here is I can hit fillet and pick a radius, hey, let's do a 3-inch. That to that. Oh, it says it's too large for that. Oh, no, there it did it. Totally smooth now. That looks beautiful. Now the variation in your overhang, your reveal, might be a 64th of an inch, you know, right? So not the end of the world, I don't think, right there. Now, might want to offset this shape, okay? So when it comes to your reveal, right? I mean, I know a lot of people say, oh, we do a 1-inch negative in this. I don't understand why you do a negative on the bathtub, but I understand people do it. I mean, I feel like it'd be kind of uncomfortable down here where I'm going to put my head. I would typically like inch positive or something like that. But depending on what we're doing here, we're just going to go offset a polygon. We click it. It's a complete shape. I got it set to 1 inch right now, and I have it to keep it original. So if we wanted to move it in, we click in, and there we go. It offsets that polygon in for us there. Okay. See, we kind of had a problem here in this corner. So it actually offset it the wrong way. This is a bug in the software. So we can just erase this. And then I can just come into offset. Sorry, motion sensing lights here. I can come into offset and I can just do that 1 inch and bring that radius in. Oh, I should have changed colors. And then we can fillet that together to kill those breaks. And there we go. That is our tub deck. So this is measuring complex arcs, and that's where we're in arc mode and continuous arc mode there. Okay, let me just take a pause there. Is there any questions about what we did right there? Any questions at all, guys? No? So that's measuring complex arcs there, where you're going to be doing multiple points to create this thing all connected. Okay. Right. Thanks, Anthony. So this is us measuring this in a minimal amount of points, right? To get, I'm taking the time. Now, where are we going to spend time at in creating this cutout right here, right? As you see me, I'm spending my time here on site, nailing these tangents, seeing the transitions, and making sure before I move my laser out of here, that thing looks pretty. It's looking good. We can come in distance, we can do points, and we can measure across this thing. You know what I mean? Pull some tape, check this thing out, pull from the center of there to the center. That don't really line up. But you understand, we can get some dimensions to verify things, right? To make sure things are in the right spot. Before we move this, as opposed to shooting a ton of points on this thing, then open it in CAD and trying to make something out of that, right? Where are you spending your time at, right? I'm spending my time here shooting it, making sure I nail this. So when I walk away from this job, I know that cutout looks damn good, right? As opposed to just shooting a crap ton of points, then trying to edit that and create something that looks good. As I said, you could shoot 100 points around here. If you miss the tangents, it's all going to be useless anyways, and it's going to look bad, right? So that's why I can't stress enough when it comes to continual arcs in this kind of fashion, we want to make sure we nail these tangents. That's why I use green sticky dots with the references, so I have something to adjust when I come back and reshoot 1/8 inch this way, 1/8 inch that way. You see if it got better or worse. And then we move on once we get it looking the way we want it to look, right? Okay. All right. Now, that's kind of covering tub decks and arcs. Now, we can also scribe drywall in arc mode. So you could do continual arcs. The only thing I really have radiused here is this wall here. So if you were, for example, going to put a countertop in here, you know, it's a doctor's office, dentist's office, it's a radius reception desk kind of deal. You could be in arc mode and you could start here in continuous arc mode and you could scribe in arc mode. So it's 1, 2, 3 gives us our first arc, those 3 points. Now, as you've seen over there, we just measured another 2 to create the next arc. It uses the third point as the beginning of the next one. So we do 1, 2, 3. Then we do 4, 5. There's another arc. 6, 7. There's another arc. 8, 9. Another one. 10, 11. Another one. Basically, when you're scribing drywall in arc mode, you just got to make sure when you stop, you're on an odd number. It's going to look for an odd number to complete the last arc. You can't stop on 20, but you can stop on 19 or 21, right? If you get to the end here and you got an X floating out in space, that means you didn't kind of calculate that with your spacing out right. So you might want to back up and shoot 2 points in that area there to get you that last arc there. Okay, that's what I mean by that. So that's using arc mode to scribe. We talked about arc mode for a tub deck. Now, in a situation like this is if you were scribing this wall to butt a countertop up against. We want to cut the back edge of our countertop to match whatever the carpenter gave us there. By scribing it like that, we're going to get that. We can fabricate that on the saw, water jet, whatever, router, whatever we're going to cut that with. If you're doing a cap for this, though, that cap better be a consistent, perfectly symmetrical radius. Okay, so even if I'm going to install a countertop down here and then cap that, we can still do our scribe in continuous and shoot 31 points across this thing. Then I go in the software and I go to draw an arc off of just 3 points. Point number 2, point 16, and point 30. And that'll give me a perfectly consistent radius arc that we're going to cut for the cap, because that better be smooth and that better be consistent, right? But we can use the wall to get it. Now, by drawing that off of 2, 15, and 30, you'll see how close that consistent smooth radius matches the scribe. Maybe you look at it right here, and that consistent radius you drew is like a 1/4 inch off from what you scribed. I don't really like that. Let's go ahead. Let's erase that arc, undo. Let's undo that arc, and let's pick point number 4, point number 18, and point 28, and redraw it. Now we see where we were at a 1/4 inch away before. We're only an 1/8 inch away from that now. And actually, when we look at that, the symmetrical one we drew over the top is no more plus or minus than an 1/8. And okay, guys, let's offset that, 2 inches for overhang this way. And then the overall width of that's going to be 18. So let's take that arc that we just offset 2 inches for our finished and put it back 18. Now we're dead symmetrical, perfect radius for that bar cap there. Okay. So there are different ways we can shoot an arc and then manipulate that data to get the cuts and the finished edges and or rough cut wall scribes we're looking to create there. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, well, this pretty much concludes our meeting here. Again, thank you so much for being Laser Products customers. Thank you for joining in on this meeting. This is our first group advanced training session. This is my first time on Google Meet doing something like this as well. So I hope you guys had a good viewing experience there on your end. This was recorded, and it will be uploaded and shared into my Google Drive. We will be able to, thank you, Andy. We will be able to share this link with you. Okay, so you guys will be able to come in here and watch this video anytime you want, any portions of it. You just want to watch the tub deck portion again, you'll be able to fast forward right to that and just watch that tub deck portion. Okay. So again, we're here to help you guys. We're doing this group training because we understand we're trying to get a large amount of you. You know, we only got so many people here to do individual trainings. So the group session here is to kind of get you guys a good overview, get you guys a good sight on what we're doing here, best practices, we believe, to capture these things and use the software, use the laser here, right? So John, it's going to take like Google like an hour or so to process this thing before it kind of shows up in my drive. So tomorrow, the video should be available for you guys, okay? And that's something where I should have, using this Google, I should have some analytics and like your name and email. I should have some data on you guys. Now, obviously, if you reach out to Christina or Maggie, both of those are coordinators for our training, they will be able to provide that link for the video there. So you guys can grab that video, watch it at your leisure anytime you want there. So we're really excited about that and providing information for you guys there. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. Okay, so of course, you know, your education never stops, right? We're always learning new stuff, right? So anytime you guys want to do an individual training session, we can do an online session just like this. Share my camera. You can share your camera on your end. We can talk through to the computer here. I'll have you, you can set your laser up and I'll teach you how to measure this backsplash through the internet if you want a one-on-one session. You know, the beauties of our phone with FaceTime, we can FaceTime each other. I could teach you a lot through that. Also through TeamViewer, you hotspot your phone, hook TeamViewer up to your tablet, hotspot your phone to your tablet. I could TeamViewer in on your tablet and you could video call me and I could see exactly what you're trying to measure. So please always reach out to us whenever you guys are needing help, whenever you're getting bad measurements, don't know how to set up for something, please reach out. I always say, we don't know you got a problem if you don't call us. There's many of us here in the support training department at this point. You will get to somebody that will be able to answer your questions for sure. Okay. So again, thank you all so much for attending this. This is our first advanced topic one. We'll probably do another basic one next. Again, thank you all so much for coming and I hope you have a great week. Thank you.